Welcome everyone. We are here today for this month's Fireside Chant, and today our subject matter is going to be on multifamily investment properties, and a good friend of ours has joined us in the studio, and this is Cody Ayres. Cody is a investment advisor with Wealth Legacy Advisors. That's kind of his day job, but he also does a lot of multifamily investing. And so you might tell us a little bit about that and your background with getting into multifamily investment.
Yeah, well, I started about 12 years ago buying rental properties, just one at a time. You know, one house here and one house there, a duplex. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I was actually sitting down with a client of mine, and we were discussing cash flow and what he needed to be doing to, above and beyond his 401k. And I said, well, I've been doing rental properties, and I'd like to speed up the pace, but as of right now, I'm just buying a couple houses here and there. And he said, well, I want to do it. And first he tried to do it on his own for a while, and he came back after about 2 years. And he said, now I want you to show me how you're doing this. Uh-huh. And so we got together a little small group of investors. There's just 3 of us. And to speed the pace of purchases, we decided that we'd get into multifamily.
So Cody, what types of multifamily properties have you invested in over the years? And kind of give us an idea of how that maybe has changed over the years. Maybe you started with a duplex, I think you said, and then that evolved into some other properties. Kind of give us some insight there.
Sure. First multifamily properties were just a couple duplexes that were together on a pretty good intersection. Saw some potential for price appreciation, and so that was our entry into it. And then after that, we bought a couple apartments and got into some townhomes.
So what's your largest project that you have as far as number of units then?
Some 3-bedroom, 2-bath townhomes down at Pawnee and Meridian.
And so that's a total number of
26 units.
26 units, okay. And how long have you owned multifamily? I think you said it started out with some single family. How long have you owned multifamily properties now?
If you count the duplexes, it's been about 8 years, but the apartments and townhomes just within the last 2 or 3 years.
Okay. So what would you say if you were going to describe maybe the top 3 benefits that you felt like was going to benefit you as an investor? Share that with us a little bit.
Well, every deal that we do, it's just cash flow. I think the cash flow is really all that matters to me. I'm not smart enough to go find properties that are going to appreciate. I don't know the magic sauce there. I think the key though is to use your competitive advantages, and to us we thought we were buying properties right, and we could rehab them cheaper than other people. Okay. That's kind of what got us into it, but cash flow is number one.
So in saying that, do you do a lot of the work yourselves, or do you kind of subcontract out for most of the actual work that needs to be done, updating wise and that kind of thing?
We purchased about 125 doors in 2 years. So wow. We had enough properties that we had a full-time crew going all the time. So gotcha. We didn't do any of the work ourselves, but we paid much less than retail just because we had those economies of scale. Another advantage with the multifamily properties, if you've got 6 properties that are all the same and they all need a roof, you get a better deal on roofs. If you got 20 HVAC units that need replaced, you can get a better deal than going down to Home Depot. Scale. Exactly, yeah. Absolutely. So we try to take advantage of every small competitive advantage that we had, and that was one of them.
So if you were going to suggest to a new investor how they would get started and kind of share your story there, because when did you buy your first investment property, would you say? How many years ago?
It was 2008. I think it was the first housing crisis of my career. That's the first one I can remember. I'm sure there were plenty before, but that was an opportunity, and I felt like I was taking advantage of it at that time. But I mean, buying property is easy. You just have to be the last guy with your hand up at a McCurdy auction.
There you go. There you go. Okay. So if you were suggesting to a new investor, would you suggest that they get into multifamily right off the bat? Would you suggest that maybe they get a little bit of single family or just a mix, or do you really see a distinction there?
It's all about your personal ability to handle the cash flow. I mean, that's the only thing that's really the only thing that I focus on, my side of it. If it cash flows, then buy it. I mean, it's pretty easy.
Let's talk a little bit about location. So do you try and quadrant your properties to where you have a lot? Like how many units do you have now?
We've got 150 doors.
150 doors, okay. Are they in a particular area, or do you just pretty much wherever you find the deal, you feel like that's the one you want?
Hayesville to Park City has been and then mostly on the east side. But now for us, it was just where we felt like the value was at the time, and cash flow was really the only thing that mattered.
As far as loans and that type of thing, do you have a key that you try and hit there? Because you've talked a lot about cash flow. Do you feel like, I want to be able to pay those properties off within 20 years or 10 or 15? Is there something that you target for there?
I really don't. Early on, I was really big into that, and I found that it was hard to get to buy a lot in a small period of time if you were too worried about when it was going to be paid off. So I just created a really good relationship with some banks, and everything got easier. That's the hardest part when you're starting out, is if you don't have a really nice balance sheet before you get started, it can be difficult to get the financing that you need to. But as far as ratios or numbers, it's just cash flow. If it cash flowed, it really didn't matter how long it would take to pay it off to me, because I'm in it for the long run.
Yeah.
The quality of the property matters.
Well, of course.
But the lower end stuff has a tendency to, you can pay it off quicker, it cash flows better, but that stuff where you really have to stretch your numbers, you're probably going to have more price appreciation there. So as long as you're not overpaying for the property, either way you're going to make it work. It's just a matter of what your balance sheet will allow you to do.
Yeah. So if you again, we've talked about new investors, because it does seem like more and more in our auctions anyway, and the real estate work that we do, both traditional and at auction, that we are seeing a lot of new investors that have not been in the real estate market before. What would be your one piece of advice maybe to a new investor that's looking, do I do this, or do I just keep my money somewhere else?
I mean, you should definitely do it. It's a part of your financial plan, really. I mean, I would say go get some experience before you go out and buy some property. Help somebody that's doing it. I mean, everybody needs help right now. If you're in the business, if it's something you like to do and you're going to do some repairs on your own, then go do some repairs for somebody. See what happens. If you're planning on being the deal maker, then go make some deals with somebody and see what it's like. I probably made every mistake that you could make, but I was fortunate enough to do it at a time when you could make mistakes and still be okay. Okay, yeah. So,
well, the way inflation's coming, that
yeah,
that could weigh in nowadays. So
sure, no, it's any real property is going to be a protection against inflation. So, but if you have some experience and you can make those mistakes on somebody else's dime first, I think that would be a good idea.
Sure. So in thinking along those lines, obviously from your standpoint of being a advisor, a wealth legacy advisor, that in your work that you do there, is there a percentage of people that you feel like that has built wealth and did not have real estate within the portfolio, or is most of the wealth that you see that people build over the years actually a lot of it come from real estate? How would you gauge that?
Most people, their biggest asset is their house. or their 401k. I mean, that's really people's biggest asset, just the typical person. But the small business owners, that kind of the entrepreneurs, I guess you don't have to be a small business owner, but the entrepreneurs that come in that say, I want more than just what everybody else has, but I'm willing to work for it. It's not the kind of deal where you just jump in, buy a couple, and see what happens. There's some real effort in it, but that can be your larger asset. So, I mean, I think that the people that do it and stick with it and make the mistakes and keep coming back, they're definitely better off than, diversifying your assets is a good thing for sure.
Right. Okay. Well, Cody, we sure appreciate you coming in this afternoon and
Thanks
being
for
part
having
of our Fireside Chant on multifamily properties. And good luck to you, and good luck in your business. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Guys, I think that completes our Fireside Chant for today. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next month.